Santosh did a great job. I did. There was Madhusudan and Santosh and quite a few devotees. Shankar made the helped make the idea.
Who made the Kishore?
Yeah, the guitars were made by the Sam. The Sam made out. He's great. He makes those guitars. He's had some incredible. He should be one of the. Actually, I talked to him about that. He should be one of the teachers. Cooking classes. He's excellent.
No.
Sure. Yeah, I can see it. Thanks. Thank you.
There's Janard with a new mic. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. 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 Gopijana Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhupada Ashtocharya Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavin ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem Shri Bhavo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So we're kind of short of time because we have two very important personalities I want to speak about. I can speak about even more than somebody today. Madhavendra Puri and Srinivas Acharya. So the class will be a little bit short. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam virye Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human beings, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On this 10th day of May 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Still in Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 22, the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, text number 36. Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva Prasangena
Vasudeva Prasangena
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva Prasangena
Vasudeva Prasangena
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva Prasangena
Vasudeva Prasangena
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva Prasangena
Vasudeva Prasangena Haribhutagatitrayaha
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva Prasangena
Vasudeva Prasangena
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva Prasangena
Vasudeva Prasangena
Haribhutagatitrayaha
Haribhutagatitrayaha. Ladies?
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Sahevam Svantaram Ninye
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Yuganam Ekasaptatim
Vasudeva
Vasudeva
Prasangena
Prasangena
Haribhutagatitrayaha.
You want to try? Saha
Saha
He
He
Swayambhuvamanu
Swayambhuvamanu
Evam
Evam
Thus
Thus
Sva Antaram
Svantaram
His own period
His own period
Ninye
Ninye
Past
past
Yuganam
Yuganam
of the cycles of 4 ages
of the cycle of 4 ages
Ekasaptatim
Ekasaptatim
71
71
Vasudeva
Vasudeva
with Vasudev
Vasudeva
Prasangena
Prasangena
by topics connected
Bhagavatam connected
Paribhuta
Paribhuta
transcended
transcended
Gatitrayaha
Gatitrayaha
the 3 destinations. Translation. He, Swayambhuvamanu, passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages, 71 times 4,327,000 years.
always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus he transcended the three destinations. Report. The three destinations are meant for persons who are under the control of the three modes of material nature. These destinations are sometimes described as the awakened, dreaming, and unconscious stages. In the Bhagavad Gita, the three destinations are described as the destinations of persons in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. It is stated in the Gita that those who are in the mode of goodness are promoted to better living conditions in higher planets. And those who are in the mode of passion remain within this material world, on the earth, or on heavenly planets. But those who are in the mode of ignorance are degraded to an animal life on planets where life is lower than human. But one who is Krishna conscious is above these three modes of material nature. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who engages in devotional service to the Lord automatically becomes transcendental to the three destinations of material nature and is situated in the Brahma-bhuta, or self-realized stage. Although Swayambhuva Manu, the ruler of this material world, appeared to be absorbed in material happiness, he was neither in the mode of goodness, nor in the modes of passion or ignorance, but in the transcendental stage. Therefore, one who fully engages in devotional service is always liberated. Luvamangal Thakur, a great devotee of the Lord, stated, "If I have unflinching devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna, then Mother Liberation is always engaged in my service." The complete perfection of material enjoyment, religion, and economic development is at my command. Close quote. People are after dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Generally, they perform religious activities, dharma, to achieve some material gain, artha, and they engage in material activity for sense gratification, kama. After being frustrated in material sense gratification, one wants to be liberated and become one with the absolute truth, moksha. These four principles form the transcendental path for the less intelligent. Those who are actually intelligent engage in Krishna consciousness, not caring for these four principles of the transcendental method. They at once elevate themselves to the transcendental platform, which is above liberation. Liberation is not a very great achievement for a devotee, to say nothing of the results of ritualistic performances in religion, economic development, or the materialistic life of sense gratification. Devotees do not care for these. They are situated always on the transcendental platform of the Brahma-bhuta stage of self-realization. Om Jnana Tivarandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Milatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, Swayambhuva Manu is describing his life. Now, he had already led part of his life when he married or gave Devahuti to Kardama. So the remainder of these 71 times 4,320,000 years, which I haven't multiplied out, but it's 300 million at least, he's Krishna conscious, despite the fact that he is demonstrating some great opulence. He's the king of the universe, after all, or the king of the Manu of the universe. So he's living in this great palace, but at the same time, he's constantly thinking of Vasudeva. Just like a king has a great opportunity, he can call together all of these pundits and devotee Brahmins and have a great reading of Bhagavatam or other literature, kirtans. He has at his disposal all kinds of musicians, excellent drummers, as well as everything, and he can have great festivals for Krishna. So there's a great opportunity for those who have wealth to do a lot of very wonderful service for Krishna. And he did that. So despite the fact that some superficial observer would see that he's immersed in all this wealth and power and health, he was actually perfectly Krishna conscious. And as I pointed out at the previous class, if you go to the 8th canto, 1st chapter, you'll find what he did there. I don't think it's described here exactly. That after all of this, he went out into the forest with his wife, and he performed severe austerities, standing on one foot and chanting the Upanishads. Some of the verses are almost exactly like the verse from the Isha Upanishad. You'll see when you get to the 8th canto. So it's not like he was falling down, but still, because of the externals and the need to really show that renunciation, as well as to completely give up any association with wealth and comfort, he performed these incredible, amazing austerities, standing on one foot, but all at the same time chanting the glories of the Lord. So Prabhupada runs through, it says the three destinations. This is from the Bhagavad Gita. Urdhvam gacchanti sattva madetistanti rajasa, jikam vittista go gacchanti tamasa. One who's situated in the mode of goodness at the time of death goes up to the higher planets. Now, do we really know what that standard of goodness is? Practically, you can hardly find it here. But that's it means that there's very, very little tinge, although there must be because you're in the material world, of passion and ignorance. Generally speaking, we find little bits of goodness in this world, but they're saturated with passion and ignorance, and oftentimes passion just takes complete control, and ignorance also. So the lower two modes are very prominent in this age. But these are the three destinations, and if you're purely in the mode of passion almost, you'll take birth here to keep doing fruitive activities. But the danger, probably a very dangerous mode, is the mode of ignorance. Jikanya means abominable. Abominable mode of ignorance. Although gachanti tama, other means goes down. And it's understood that means you lose the human form of life. This is the most fearful type of danger, Krishna says in the second chapter. The worst danger is to lose this precious human form of life. Okay, we practice Krishna consciousness, we do something, and we get reborn as a human being, continue. That's progressive. We should try to go back to Godhead in one lifetime, certainly. But at least practicing a little Krishna consciousness, as Krishna says, that a little Krishna consciousness protects you from the most dangerous type of fear, mahato bayat, with fearful danger, losing the human form. Prabhupada explained it. So how auspicious is that? Now this should be encouraging to us, but not only in our own devotional service, but to try to give Krishna consciousness even a little bit to anyone we can. This is the preacher's verse. Because even if they just chant one time or hear one time, so much benefit is there. Give a little donation. They don't even know what they're buying. Some book that this nice person gave me. I'm a little interested. Maybe I'll read it. That donation is their salvation from losing the human form of life. So how urgent is that? When we know these things, is to be always giving Krishna consciousness. This is the mood of the preacher. And always taking advantage of any circumstance. And we saw that with Srila Prabhupada. Any little spark he saw in somebody, he would fan that. He would try to prasadam, invite them. The whole Sunday love feast was just to get people in the door, so that they could hear and associate with devotees, take prasadam, which is so powerful and purifying. Somehow or other, to get people involved in Krishna consciousness, because you know how valuable it is. So Prabhupada goes through that, and then, so beyond these three modes is this Brahma-Bhuta stage. Now, Brahma-Bhuta stage is described very distinctly in the 18th chapter, and how to get to the Brahma-Bhuta stage is also described there. Brahma-Bhuta prasana shrochati nikanchati samak sarveshu bhuteshu manvatim labate param. Now when I read that, first read that, and I paired it with the second to last verse in the 14th chapter, which describes how one can transcend the modes of nature. After all, that's what's being described here. Mancha yoga vicharena, bhakti yogena sevate, sogunan samadityatam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. This is how you get to the Brahma-Bhuta stage. Undeviating, unfailing devotional service to me, says Krishna. Avyabhichari means without any gaps, without any deviation. Sagunan samadhi, one transcends the three modes of nature and comes to the stage of Brahman. And then you read the 1854, is it, I think, or 55, Brahma-Bhuta prasanatma. Then he says that if one is on the Brahma-Bhuta platform, it becomes very joyful, naturally, prasanatma. Now, prasanatma means two things. It's joyful and pleased, but it also means very, very clear consciousness. Consciousness is very clear. Look at that, prasanna. Prasanatma. Now, shochati and nikanchati. These are the two hallmarks of material consciousness, material life. Lamenting and hankering. One leads to the other. You hanker for something. If you can't get it, you're lamenting. If you get it, you're bound to lose it just by the force of time. That's another source of lamenting. So the Shochati, the Shudras lament. That's what the Shudras do all the time. They're always lamenting that they're not in a higher stage or they can't get what they want. Just look at the society. Most of the things that you read going on, people are complaining like anything. Everyone's saying, "Oh, I'm a victim." Actually, they look to be a victim because then they can sue somebody, or they can they can get something. But victimhood is exactly what we're talking about. It's kanchati, shochati, kanchati. So here's beyond all that. No lamenting, not or hankering for anything material. Hankering for Krishna, that's another thing. When we start Madhava and Puri, that's one thing. Samak sarveshu bhuteshu, seeing everyone equally as a spirit soul. And then madbhaktim labate param. Well, what is that? That's at the end now. Madbhaktim labate param. So he's saying by getting the Brahmabhuta, then you attain bhakti. In the previous chapter it says by engaging in bhakti you come to Brahmabhuta. So which comes first? The Brahmabhuta or the bhakti? So the key is to understand the different ways in which the word bhakti is used there. Bhakti yogena, at the end of chapter 14, is the sadhana bhakti. By practicing the sadhana bhakti carefully and with undeviation, you can come to that platform, which is kind of like Nishta platform. Is beyond the modes of nature, very steady, without being affected by material desires. And that's Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. But here you start with that, Brahma Bhuta Prasanapa, and then you attain. Notice he doesn't say Bhakti Yoga there, he says Bhakti. The last line, Mad Bhaktim Labadeva. You're talking of a higher stage, pure devotional service or bhava stage. So that's the foundation of this higher levels of actual bhakti, or feeling devotional reciprocation of Krishna. So Swayam Bhuvamana was experiencing all those stages. I'm not going to speculate how more advancement he made when he went out into the forest, but he was at a very, very high level. Now this whole idea, Prabhupada quotes from Bilvamakal Thakur, this famous verse, about how, what is the role of moksha or mukti in devotional life? Now famously Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was Mayavadi before Lord Chaitanya, he met Lord Chaitanya, and then he became converted to sold out bhakta, the servant of Lord Chaitanya. He couldn't even want to hear the word mukti anymore. It was anathema, because it had so many connotations for him of his previous life as a Mayavadi, which is regarded as offensive to Krishna. Because you're denying the personality of the absolute truth. So he changed the verse. The verse ends, Tate nukampam susamikshimano. Is that the verse? Yeah. Tate nukampam susamikshimano, bhuntana evadnukatam vapakam, ridvad vapur vidadam namaste, jivetiyo mukti pade sadayava. That word mukti pade was too much for him, so he changed it to bhakti pade. He chanted it for Lord Chaitanya. Well, you can't change the Bhagavatam. What are you doing? It's a bad precedent. These editors are always making things messy. So he explained how in that context, mukti pade means liberation at the lotus feet of Krishna. It's really bhakti, So the idea is that devotees, they don't ultimately hanker for mukti. We hanker for Krishna, and that for service to Krishna, and that includes mukti. It's a byproduct. And that's what Bilvamangal's verse is all about. Muktis tvayi stiratara bhagavan yadisya. Sure. Daive nanak phalati divya kishora murti. Mukti swayam mukalitanjali sevitesa. Over more. Oh, that's the lady said. It's okay. This way. If we don't maintain it, it'll be great. No offense. So, if one is fixed in devotional service, then he experiences the fruit of that. Mukti? No. Daive divya, what is it? David says, Daive phalati divya kishora murti, a vision of your divine adolescent form. That's what I'm looking for. And he would get these visions. Couldn't see physically, but he's saying with the spiritual eyes. And as far as mukti is concerned, mukti swayam mukalitanjali sevate smam. She's waiting at the door, Prabhupada says, with this Anjali. Anjali is a mudra that means, how can I serve you? I'd like to point this out because there's some newcomers here, some of you have heard this before. When I'm working on the Bhagavatam, this word Anjali would come up periodically. The 10th canto of Bhagavatam. And it would be one of the standard translations is with folded hands, right? But there's a difference. The mudras are really important. You notice the mudras are significant. It's mudra and standing in kirtan, not good. This means I'm not letting you win.
It used to be you'd be asked to leave the temple in India if you stood in front of the
No kidding. See how important it is.
disrespect.
Yeah. So this is a mudra. We know from Pushpanjali, right? Anjali is it, but there's room in there where you can put the flowers. That's right. No room. The standard Western mudra for prayer. Please give me something. Please let me give you something. And you have your heart in there also. So Mukulitanjali, Mukti is at the door waiting to serve me. How can I serve you? In other words, she comes in the train. That's already there. And whatever I need of Dharma, Artha, and Kama, because you need a little something, she's there also there. That's what this means. So Mukti is not really desired by the devotees, but as I point out, when we come to Krishna consciousness, the general idea of being liberated from birth and death is important, just to get us on the path. Because we don't know about the Divya Kishora Murti, but we know that we're suffering in this world. And then the spiritual message is why, and how that suffering will continue life after life unless you get liberation. How many times, Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshana Darshana. Part of knowledge is to see the evils of birth and death. Not to see them one time and forget about them the rest of it, but see them all the time. I don't want to do that because it'll entangle me in birth and death. So that's a desire for liberation. But that once one gets on the path and is actually chanting and practicing, the thoughts of liberation diminish. That you already feel liberated. Just like we can, to a degree you feel liberated. Certainly from so much anxiety that's right outside the door, we're hearing about that more than ever. People, they say the Google hits for World War III have increased exponentially since Trump got elected. That means people are worried. Out there, that fear it takes over everything. Will overcome everything. That would be just like we have this eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Defending is fearing, right? So think about it. You may be doing one of the first three, but if there's some real danger comes, you forget about it. Eating, sleeping, if you can wake up, you're out the door. The house is on fire or somebody's attacking. Eating, or even sex. We're going to get out of here. Fearing is very, very, very powerful, and when that takes hold, it can ruin your life completely. Anxiety attacks, panic attacks. This is all a variety of fear. So, if you're actually on a transcendental platform, you're beyond fear. Narayana kutaksarve nakutashchina bibhyati. For those who are Narayana para, totally dedicated, fully conscious of Narayana Krishna, nakutashchina bibhyati, they don't fear anything. For them, heaven, liberation, and hell is all the same. Svarga, apavarga, nadakeshu, apituryatadarsha. Just imagine what that is. So, but still, in the second chapter, first canto of Bhagavatam, when it begins, Sutta Goswami is saying, he says, Dharmasya yapavargasya, nato tayapakalpate. Dharma is meant for liberation, not for artha or for kama. Is there a contradiction? No. In other words, in the context of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, where everyone is doing religiosity to get some money in order to enjoy sense gratification, better that you do your dharma for moksha, and then learn how, in the next few verses, that's taken care of by practicing Krishna consciousness. But don't get involved in the first three of the four goals of the Vedic goals, which is more or less material. Anyway, so there's all of these ramifications here. So the idea is that Swayambhuva Manu has lived his life in a very Krishna conscious way, and he's given off his daughter to Karma Muni. Kapila Deva will be the issue there. This is all very auspicious. And notice the contrast between what happened with Diti and Kashyapa. There was a lack of proper etiquette and understanding the ramifications. out comes Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu, they torment the universe. So this, the marriage and what happens after the marriage and all these things, there's a Krishna conscious way of doing it which makes it very auspicious. And there's a way of doing it under the modes of nature that can create tremendous inauspiciousness for yourself and for the world. So that's all I wanted to say is I want to leave a little time for reading about and hearing about Madhavendra Puri and Srinivasacharya. There really isn't that much time. But I'm just going to read this quick thing about Madhavendra Puri, and we'll mention some of the highlights of Srinivasacharya. They're both very important personalities. Okay. Before Lord Chaitanya appeared, this is from the Samadhi's book, he sent his eternal associates like Advaitacharya, Jagannath Mishra, Shachi Mata, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri to earth. Madhavendra Puri took initiation from Sri Lakshmipati Tirtha in the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. So we're part of that. It's the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Madhva is within that Brahma Sampradaya, and it's a very prominent line. He had many disciples, but Sri Advaitacharya and Ishwara Puri were the chief disciples. In one way or another, all the Vaishnavas in Bengal and Jagannath Puri were connected to Madhavendra Puri. After Lord Chaitanya came, many of his disciples joined Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And here we have Vrindavandas Thakur says, this is from Chaitanya Bhagavatam, Madhavendra Puri's body was completely full of divine love. So were the bodies of his followers. He displayed uncommon love of God. Seeing a dark blue rain cloud, he would fall down unconscious. It reminded him of Krishna. Day and night he was intoxicated from drinking the ambrosia of Krishna praying. After making extensive pilgrimage of Bharata Bhumi, at which time he encountered Nityananda Prabhu, that's wonderfully explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavatam. They spent several days together chanting at the highest levels of Krishna prema. He began the restoration and work of Vrindavan that Rupa and Sanatan continued later. Wandering from grove to grove, remembering Radha Krishna's sweet Vrindavan pastimes, Madhavendra Puri would faint in ecstasy. This, and then the next part is from Chaitanya Charitamrita recounted. When Lord Chaitanya was on his way to Jagannath Puri after taking sannyas, he stopped in Ramuna and told the story of the Chira Chora Gopinath, which is Madhavendra Puri, on his way when he arrived there. He had heard about this wonderful kira that had been prepared. Was it, how many pots a day? 12? Okay. And so he wanted to prepare that for his deity Gopal, which he had unearthed back in Vrindavan and set up on Govardhan Hill. In fact, he was on the way to Puri to get some sandalwood pulp, because in a dream he had heard, oh, I'm very hot, I'm still very hot. Gopal came to him, go to Puri and get me some sandalwood, cool it, So off he went, took that as a direct order. And then he comes to Ramuna eventually, and he's in the temple, and he's as they're offering the sweet rice, he's thinking, oh, if I could only taste some, I could understand what's in it, I could prepare some for Gopal. But as soon as he thought, he said, oh, what an offense. It's an offense. Do you ever wonder why they cover the plates before they put them on the altar? So the devotees running by won't desire what's on the plate and committing an offense. So he felt very offensive. Immediately left the temple and went out to the marketplace and just chanted as penance, chanting all night. So the next morning, or that night, the pujari, one of the pujaris had a dream. A lot of things happen in dreams. He had a dream where Gopinath, who's on the altar alone, by the way. That painting was wrong. There's no Radha with him. He came to him and said, "Oh, I have stolen or hidden one pot of kheer for Madhavendra Puri, because he knew that he wanted to taste it, so he's reciprocating. And I've hidden it behind my cloth. You'll find it there." So it says the Pujari felt it was a good idea to take a bath first before he went on the altar. So he bathed and went on the altar, and here he found it. Now, Prabhupada makes the point that this Pujari was on the same level of Madhavendra Puri, because he also gets the darshan in the dream, the direct darshan of Krishna. So he takes the pot of sweet rice, or kheer, and he goes out to the marketplace and says, Madhavendra Puri, please come. Gopinath has stolen this pot of sweet rice for you. the Madhavuri comes, he's in ecstasy, you know, and he drinks the sweet rice, and then he breaks the pot into little pieces, and after that he would take a little piece day after day and be reminded of the whole pastime. So this is very famous. And after that he became called as Chora Gopinath, the Gopinath who stole Chora, the pot of sweet rice, or kheer. That's a very famous pastime. So, but before that happened, it describes how he unearthed this deity with the help of the Vijvasis, and this temporary temple assembled, and then day after day, each village would give all their food that they had in stock, you know, and they would have this Annakuta. Annakuta means a mountain of food. This is Govardhan Puja. You know, he was on Govardhan Hill. Day after day, they'd have these feasts. And he set up, some Brahmins arrived, he set them up as pujaris, and then he had this dream, and then he started going, and eventually came back with the sandalwood paste, got as far as Ramuna, and again, Gopal appears in him in a dream and says, look, you can just have the pujaris spread it on my Gopinath body, because I'm not different, it's not different, I'll be cool if you just, they didn't want his, he's carrying 82 pounds of sandalwood, you know, all the way back to from Puri all the way to Vrindavan, 1,000 miles by foot, no question, no trains or anything. So I said, okay, just put it on Gopinath, that's fine. You know. So I said, well, that's fine, that's the order. So we gave them the sandalwood in the middle of the summer, gives the pujaris this big sandalwood, it's a great opulence. They were ecstatic. Our deity will have all the sandalwoods. It's a wonderful pastime. So then it described, I remember I'm working on this book now, back in 1975, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, I think it was. And suddenly it starts describing the wonders of Madhavan Puri's special verse, the Kaustubha gem of all rasa poetry. This verse, if one chants it, you know, the more one chants it, the more you experience. Oh, what's the verse? What's the verse? You know, I'm working on each. And then the verse comes, I immediately memorize it. So this is a very famous verse which encapsulates this mood of separation, love and separation that Lord Chaitanya displayed in the last 12, 18 years in Puri, when he was, you know, you hear about his speaking with Brahmananda Roy and Suk Damodar and all that. This was the central description of that mood. So here's the verse. Aidina dayadana pahi motodana takadabalokise Vidiyam todaloka katadam dayita brahmyati kinkaromyam. O my Lord, O most merciful Master. Oh, this is spoken, of course, by Radharani. O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do? Now, when Lord Chaitanya chanted this verse, he went into ecstasy. And he couldn't even chant the whole thing. He would just say, I Dina, and he would go into ecstasy, rolling around, crying. Very important verse, and it's described, it's a lot about it, about how only 3 people could really understand the full import of this verse. Lord Chaitanya, Radharani, and Madhavendra Puri. But still, it's very famous amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Okay, there's so much more to say, but I wanted to say a few words about Srinivasacharya. Yes, go ahead.
One line, he's the one who is understood who has brought the seed of
Yes.
Conjugal bhakti, conjugal ras and bhakti.
Within,
Lord Chaitanya.
yeah, within the Madhva Sampradaya, he brought that in and was later experienced. The things that he showed and experienced were later experienced by Lord Chaitanya and expanded so much. And that's why it's known as the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. There's that special line coming down from Madhavendra Puri, which we're part of. Yeah. It's special. Okay, thank you for that. And just a few words about Srinivasacharya. So, Srinivasacharya, let's see. So Lord Chaitanya predicted his appearance. He's the son of one of his devotees, Chaitanya Das, and his pregnant wife visited Lord Chaitanya at Puri, and Lord Chaitanya told them, soon your wife will give birth to a son named Srinivas, and through Srinivas, all the Bhakti Shastras of Rupa and Sanatana will be distributed. So I just wanted to tell this wonderful story. I remember when I first heard it, it was amazing, back in Miami. So, After Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, these Goswamis were there in Vrindavan writing their books. But one by one, they started to leave. I mean, Rupa, Sanatan, Jiva was the younger, and he continued. And he was writing these sandarbhas and all these things. But the books weren't going anywhere, It's not like the preaching was going on, but it wasn't really facilitated by the books, which is so important. So at one point, the way I heard it, if you know different about it, Janava Mata, who was actually the head of the whole Sampradaya at that time, Nityananda's wife, Janava, she, I don't want to say got on their case, but she wrote to them and said, we got to get those books to Bengal where all the scholars were, they can copy them. There's no printing presses. You can't just take it to the printer like we do now. No desktop publishing. So they're all in manuscript form, right? So Janava Maharaj, she's the head of the Sampradaya, so they got it together. Said, okay, they put them all in a big bullock cart to take them from Vrindavan to Mayapur. Anyone knows that's quite a train ride. What to speak of, bullock ride. So these three, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Srinivasacharya, they were the younger generation. They were the next generation of preachers. They had been trained by Jiva Goswami. Srinivas studied, they all studied under him. And Srinivas was known as the greatest intellect. That's why Jiva gave him the word Acharya. It's not a small thing in those days to get that appellation. So off they went. And they're going, and they're making good progress, and they come pretty close. No problems. And then they, with the precious cargo, most precious cargo, all the books that we read, they're in there. Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Samrita Sindhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And they get to this town, I forget what it's called, city, led by this king named Virhamvir. I remember that name, Virhamvir. It says, I'm powerful. I'm a powerful hero, basically what Virhamvir means. And he had this astrologer, court astrologer, I guess it was a regular thing. And he predicted, he was saying, there's some pilgrims coming through your kingdom, and they have a bullock cart, and there's something of very, very great value with that bullock cart. And of course, he was immediately thinking, well, if he was somewhat of a Vaishnava, he would have Bhagavat readings all the time. Unfortunately, the Brahmin explaining it didn't know what he was doing. He was giving wrong explanations. But he wasn't like a total demon or anything. But he was a regular king, and they would. He had a group of his own dacoits who would go and rob the pilgrims. So he was thinking diamonds, gold, jewels. So the three were taking rest one night, and these dacoits come. They don't hurt the pilgrims, but they rob all the insides of the cart and took them back to the kingdom. So when Narottam, Srinivas, and Shyamananda woke up, they were just devastated. They had been given charge of this treasure. The whole Sampradaya depends on it. And now they're gone. So Narottam and Shyamananda were disconsolate. They didn't know what to do. They thought it was the end of the world, But Srinivas said, well, maybe you can get him back. So the others went on to Bengal, and he said, well, let me investigate. So he went around and came to that town. And he kind of just, just sort of lay low. He didn't do anything yet. So then he sees that the king is having these daily readings of the Bhagavatam. And so he attends one of them. So the Bhagavatam is being read, and this Brahmin is explaining it, and it's all off, So at the end, any questions or comments, So Srinivas stands up. He says, I have some comments. And he proceeds to give this most eloquent and nectarian and parampara explanation of Bhagavatam. And the king is totally impressed. He's taken with it, because he's really a devotee at heart. And so he invites Srinivas, to give more discourses, and he invites him into his inner quarters. And then Srinivas, asks the question, do you know anything about this card? We things were stolen from our card. You happen to know anything about that? And the king confessed. He says, oh yes, we're so sorry that my astrologer told me it was so valuable. Here's the contents. And there were the books in the inner chamber. So Srinivas was able to retrieve them. And this king became his disciple. I think the whole kingdom, was converted. His first disciples, And then he went on, where did he preach? Not in Orissa, but I think Bengal probably. So. But he went on to, and of course he's famous for writing these 8 verses about the Goswamis. Krishnot Kirana Gananatana, but he wrote that.